running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I want to be your land.
President Obama still plans to admit thousands of Syrian refugees to America despite concerns terrorists could infiltrate the group. Today, lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee pressed administration officials on what safeguards are in place. Mike Huckabee is among many opposed to the refugee program, and he had a proposal for the president on Tuesday night.
If it's such a doggone good idea to bring people here that we really don't know who they are, and Obama thinks that we're being unchristian to not do it, I've got a suggestion. Let's send the first wave of them to Chappaqua, Martha's Vineyard, and the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and to the South Lawn of the White House, where we'll set up a camp. Let's see how that works out. And if they behave wonderfully, that's fine. I want to say I don't want someone lecturing me about what it means to be a Christian, that I should invite a potential terrorist into my backyard. On one hand, the left says separation of church and state, let's not have any discussion of religion, and then the left wants to tell me what it means to be a Christian.
All right, there was a lot in there, So, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, pinch of salt. Any part of it you found appealing, Eric?
The part where Mike Huckabee said we shouldn't be taking Syrian refugees. I don't look. I've heard this. You know, the old, hey, if you're so into it, why don't you put one up at your house deal? That's kind of old and played out. What I did find interesting, though, is Jay Johnson, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, said that we need to worry about ISIS trying to infiltrate the Syrian refugee program. The Director of Homeland Security says it, and today President Obama says, no, there's nothing to worry about here. There's no credible or imminent threat to America. It's insane. You're hearing from the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Secretary of Defense. You're hearing it from the FBI and the Obama administration. President Obama alone is saying
you can make a better case, because I think what surprised me was there was these numbers today that said, in fact, 100,000 people from Syria have been admitted to the United States, I think, since 2012, right? So that's separate from the Syrian refugee program, which is for the people who have been fleeing the increased bombing and terrorism going on in Syria recently. The president said about 10,000 of those people would be admitted. But the point from your perspective, Eric, would be the threat's already here, because you got these 100,000 people, 10 times, already here who've come under student visa, tourist visas, and the like.
Other than the fact that ISIS had said they're going to infiltrate the Syrian refugee program.
But they try.
I think it's disingenuous, or let's put it this way. I think President Obama is misleading the American public by saying there's no credible or imminent threat. Well, I just said the FBI, the Department of Defense, and Homeland Security all say there's a threat, and there's something to worry about.
In other words, you got to worry about it, and you got to make sure that you're vetting these people properly.
You know what I call that? Terror deniers, right? Remember that? Talk to us about the climate, talking to you about terror. Dana, what did you like about what Huckabee said? Well,
this is what I think. The left tries to use Christianity or principles of Christianity against Christians, okay, to try to get them and to guilt them into feeling bad about themselves so that they will decide to support a policy that they want on the left. I don't think that this is a left-right issue. I think there are smart, reasonable things that we can do as a country to look at our immigration problem, keep pace with things. I also agree with Eric on this point about no credible threat. I know why the president says that. He doesn't want people to have irrational fear. The problem is the American people feel like his underreaction is causing them to feel irrational fear because they think that he is not on top of things. There was no credible threat before Fort Hood, Chattanooga, Paris, San Bernardino, Boston. We missed all of those. And so there is a reasonable expectation that the American people would be concerned about President Obama underplaying the threat. And I think that they don't understand that. I also think that Mike Huckabee, in a way, when he starts talking about we'll send them to Chappaqua, what he's getting at is that a lot of people are offended, especially on the southern border, that people in Washington or elites in New England are trying to tell them that they don't understand what's going on in their communities, but they're not the ones having to deal with illegal immigration in those border states. And when you go and visit them, you do have a different perspective.
All right. Okay, good. You covered a lot of ground. I didn't have to ask you a follow-up question. I really appreciate it.
I didn't take a breath either.
Woo! Woo, breathe, girl. All right, Catherine, what do you got?
I agree that, you don't want to just overreact based on fear, but because he talks about terrorism the way he talks about what he ate for lunch, it's very easy to say, hey, maybe he's a little bit understating it. With Huckabee, was that kind of a joke? Was he kind of making a joke? It's always hard to tell, which is why I don't know why he makes jokes. Very nice guy, but was he actually saying we should send refugees to Martha's Vineyard? I've never been there.
He's using a little hyperbole.
Yeah, he's using a hyperbole. It's, I've heard it's a very nice place. So even if he's annoyed by the liberals, I don't think that he should want terrorists there. So I don't know. All of his jokes. Remember the one about the wanting to go into the locker room if there was transgender rights back then? And whenever he makes a joke, I'm always just sitting there like, eh.
You're not getting a Christmas card from him for sure.
I said he was a nice guy, and I really do believe, but that doesn't mean that you're great at the jokes.
That's what you're here for. Hillary Clinton wants to clear something up with Republican voters. Yes, you out there. Next on The Five.